All right, Nick. This is what is today?
April 2nd. I got the correct date on there, so
Okay.
It's not the exact same post-game show as April 1st.
Well, I thought it was April 1st, based off the fact that perhaps, I don't know, seems like it's April Fool's all over again. I'm going to save it. There's no real reason to say. I'm going to tell you right now, no matter what happens in the bottom of the ninth inning, I don't care if they load the bases and they score a run, score 2 runs with nobody out. It's not going to change my opinion on what I've watched over the past handful of games. It's not just the last 2 days. It's even some days before that, and we've gotten fortunate, I guess is what I would call it. We had a really good day in the sun the other day. I get it. We scored 14 runs. I don't want to gloss over that, but it's tough. I mean, there's nothing else to say. We do have a chance, though. We do have a chance. That's the thing about this game is it doesn't really matter at the end of the year. They don't ask you how you won them. They just ask if you won them. It's right here for the taking.
Yes, sir. All right, where are we at in the lineup?
Should be leadoff, yeah?
Yeah, Hurtubise is still up.
Yeah.
Well, hey, look, Hurtubise has been great in these spots. So,
he has. He's found a way to get on base. I'll give him credit. I can't watch games like this if this is how we're going to do the broadcast, too, by the way. 1 pitch, 1 out. To be fair to Hurtubise, he was due to get out at some point.
Oh, no. I see where we're at in the batting order. Oh, no.
That's what makes – I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. That's what makes the situation that just happened the inning before that inexcusable. Inexcusable. It's quite literally inexcusable. I hate really just killing players. I do. I hate it. But God, if that son of a gun isn't going back to Louisville, I don't know what he has to do it. There we go.
Come on, Teach.
I'm ahead of you.
Yeah, you're a little bit ahead.
All right, I'm going to pause and play.
I just saw a little ch-ch from Friedel.
All right, I'm watching the replay right now. Base hit to right.
Let's see if I can get this streaming on Twitter. So we're really cooking here.
I can't check the chat. They're always way ahead. Wait a minute. Did you see the Choo-Choo Friedel replay?
Yes, I saw yeah.
Okay. All right. So McLain.
I'm about to see the 5, 4.
All right.
We're right on.
Yeah. Mid-season form.
Yeah. If only the Reds offense could get as in sync as we are.
Yeah. Be nice. I mean, I'm not asking for a lot. Maybe just a run or two, Just a couple of them. Not asking for a 6, 7, 8 run day. Did he hit his foot? What did he do? Come on, Matt. Do not try to run here. Damn, he got frozen.
At least Elly's not left in the on-deck circle.
Yeah, I know. That's what we were all worried about. I also that's why I didn't want to run right there, because it just felt like there was a chance of that. Strike him out, throw him out. That's just a good pitch, and he was looking for something else, which is kind of, I don't know. It's kind of a unique way to hit, not look for a fastball. Seems kind of wild. All right, Elly. Just carry us to the promised land. Just stand on the bag.
I was like, no. I saw the turn. I was like, no, please.
Just stand on the bag. Like, I don't even care. Good pitch. Ball. Good. This camera is like legit. I'm not trying to overreact
felt like you wanted
here.
to call it.
Like, I don't know if it's just because it's the way that my eyes are, and other people it doesn't bother, but the shaking of the camera like legitimately does something to my brain that I can't handle. It's like almost unwatchable at times. That's a ball. Thank you.
I don't notice it until you say it. I see it like when you say it, and I'm looking for it, but I don't.
I know. Well, if it doesn't bother you, that's great. I'm glad it doesn't bother you. It's just almost like a car sickness thing. Like there's certain there's got to be other people in the world that like how do you watch that?
I guess I was able to survive driving through Kansas, and you and our compadre were not. So yeah. I guess I'm better prepared for the.
I survived, by the way. I survived. I don't get car sick, but I do. This is different, I guess. All right. Anyways, back to the game. Come on, Elly.
Oh,
great pitch. Yeah, he's just throwing that backdoor slider. Nope. Unbelievable.
And a bench to bench. Change hit in the air to deep right field. That goes to Lindsay. And the save. He's done. Get out of here, baseball. He scored. Oh, my God. Can you believe it? Johnny Bench has tied it up. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep. In the dirt. It's a wild pitch. Here comes Foster. The Reds win the pennant. Larkins won the game. That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2 games to none. Welcome Joe Randa to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again. Benzinger backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Chatterbox is a good player?
Dunn up there with the bases loaded, the outfield deep and around toward right, and the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on, long drive, right field, and this one belongs to the Reds.
And a high drive, hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down to the 500 club. Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
All right, I've heard enough. I really have. I'm not doing the whole intro today. I don't have time for it. I've sat here and I've watched 2 straight days of piss-poor offense, and I've tried to be humble about it. I've tried to say, you know what, this is a hard game. You perhaps on any given day, this can happen to anybody. The best of the best team in baseball is going to have this happen to them. But now we have it 2 days in a row. And you have Leitert on there, however you want to say it. I don't give a damn. Eovaldi is on there the other day. At what point do we just maybe put our hand in the air and say, this is a we problem? And by we, I mean us problem. Nick, box score recap. I don't even know if you need to go into the. Do you need a graphic? Do you need a graphic? I mean,
well, you didn't give me my full allotment to finish it.
I give you all the time in the world. If you want me to go on for the next 10 minutes, I can go on if you'd like me to. We got AAA players that, quite frankly, are littered throughout this lineup. I'm thinking to myself in the 7th inning, it's do or die time with Gavin Lux up at the plate, lefty on lefty, and I'm thinking, we got to get somebody in here. This is our best chance to score. And then I think, well, who can we go to? Who do we have on the bench to go to? Well, I guess you could go to Hurtubise. That's not going to work. Do you want to go to Austin Wynns? That's not going to work. Do you want to go to, let's just say Austin Wynns was starting, Trevino's the other option. Okay, great. That's a good option there. Spencer Steer obviously played today, but typically I guess he's hurt. He seems hurt. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt by saying he's hurt. So we're left with Blake Dunn, That's who we had to go to in that spot. That was, and to be honest with you, hand up in the air, I actually think that was probably a spot where if you go to Blake Dunn, it makes sense. And I would actually say that you could logically get me to a place like that. But that's what we're talking about. Like we're trying to convince ourselves in a huge spot that Blake Dunn is the guy that we need to be bringing into the game to get us a big hit. And I'm well aware that there's gonna be half the crowd that's gonna say, you know what, hey, it's April 2nd. Cool down, buddy. Pump the brakes, pal. Whatever term you want to say to me, that's fine. But here's the thing. When you know going into an offseason that you have some deficiencies that the Reds have had, and you think to yourself, and this is no disrespect to Tito Francona, I'm not trying to be he can't fix this. Half of you guys thought David Bell was the problem when it came to these games, right? Oh, there's David Bell's problem. No, this is a roster problem. It's been a roster problem, and somebody needs to fix it. I mean, Jake Fraley finally gets on base, gets a base hit up the middle. Finally! Praise the Lord, hallelujah. Second time all year on base. And what do? We quite literally run into the out at second base. Heaven forbid. Now, I get it. Sometimes if you haven't been on base in a while, you forget what you're supposed to do when you get there. So I give him a little bit of a pass. He's not been there a lot. But I am so sick and tired of watching the same song and dance over and over and over again. And then we just think magically this stuff's going to change. It's not going to change. Until we get some legitimate outfielders out here that have some pop, it's not going to change. Until we have a legitimate designated hitter, by the way, a designated hitter. The game of baseball is presenting you an opportunity to put somebody in your lineup that can't field. But you know what? Maybe they can hit. So put them in the lineup. What do we have? We have a guy without arms, basically, at this point. At DH most of the time. No production anywhere. And we're basically praying to ourselves that these young infielders are going to just bail us out. If it's not CES and it's not Matt McLain and it's not Elly, then, I mean, at this point, what have we seen from anyone else? And I'm trying to give TJ Friedl, I will give some kudos to TJ Friedl. He's played pretty well. But the rest of them, I mean, it's been nothing. Nothing from them. Hopefully I gave you a long enough time there, Nick, to do the box score recap. You shouldn't need much longer because, quite honestly, I ranted long enough for you to basically put in whatever into the box score. But go ahead, Nick. Take it away.
I decided just to put Hunter Green. It felt like the only worthy player to get put in the box score recap. All right, nonetheless, Reds taking on the Rangers in the rubber game. Another day, another starting pitcher taking a perfect game into the middle of the game against your Cincinnati Reds. Today it was Al Leiter's son, Jack. The Reds' first hit of the game was an Elly De La Cruz double with 2 outs in the 4th. Hunter Green, absolutely brilliant. 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. Reds starting pitchers in the series against the Rangers, 20 innings, 2 runs allowed. Reds bullpen did their job. Reds had a chance in the 8th. Jake Fraley got the Reds' second hit of the game, the second hit of the game in the 8th inning, and then immediately got picked off. TJ Friedl did single in the 9th to bring the winning run to the plate, but Matt McLain struck out, and Elly De La Cruz hit a weak ground out to end the game. Reds fall 1-0, second straight day. Reds fall to 2-4 on the season, and the Reds have now lost 18 of their last 22 rubber games dating back to last season.
The deep drive of the day has been non-existent for 2 days in a row, and that's a damn shame for Deep South Commodities. So shout out to DSC and their team for supporting something that quite literally hasn't existed for a couple of days. Elly De La Cruz, we have some exit velos to give you, though, if you want to feel better about yourself. 107 and 106 off the bat. That's nice. You know, I don't know why I get so mad at times, and I'll tell you why I think it is. and I have a terrible analogy, and I'm not even going to use right now because I don't know if it'll come off right, and I don't want people to take it the wrong way. But it feels as if this starting pitching has for 2 years now, specifically Hunter Green, mind you. And maybe that's why I'm overly sensitive, because Hunter Green continues to do nothing but give this team a chance to win on a night in and night out basis. And for the last, 2 starts now this year and last year, this offense has been inept. They've been so bad that it has given him zero chance to win. And you might say, oh, well, winning and as far as a starting pitcher go, it doesn't matter. It's got to be demoralizing at some point if you're Hunter Green that you go out here and you do nothing but dominate, and then you look up at the scoreboard and you're on the hook for a loss. When the only run that scored, mind you, was a little small weak ground ball hit against a little bit of a shifted defense, and I'm not suggesting that Santiago Espinal could have made the play, Nick, but Candy didn't make the play, and there you go. There you have it. A double later, guy scores, and voila. 1 run, that's all they get all day. Another starter that threw absolutely almost perfect with a loss. And you might say 6 games in, whoa, big deal. That's fine. You can do that. But I'll tell you this. I've seen it far too long. And the other thing I've seen is that at the end of the season, I'll say it until I'm blue in the face, and I'll say it till the cows come home, or whatever term you'd like to use. You might hate me for saying the same thing over and over again. But the Reds can't afford to lose these games. They're not good enough to afford to lose these games. You know, if you're a middle-income family or a lower-income family like when I grew up, you don't have the luxury, Nick, to go burn $100 at the steakhouse. They've done that 2 nights in a row. And then we're going to turn around at the end of the season and wonder why we can't pay the car note or why we can't pay the electric bill. Well, we've wasted all the opportunities that we've been given by the one asset that we do have, and that is starting pitching. And it's been burned up by ineptitude, is what I'll call it. Go ahead,
there's 2 things going on here. Like, I would preach right now patience for guys like Gavin Lux, who had a good track record, right. Was great in the second half last year. I'd preach patience with Jeimer Candelario. We saw this same thing last year where he was abysmal in April and then absolutely put the Reds on his back for probably 2 months. Like, those guys, it's fine. They deserve some patience, but Spencer Steer is not healthy, was clearly not ready for the season, so he's in a totally different category. Jake Fraley hasn't done anything for 2 years. So when we talked about this Reds team and this offense coming into the year, I said it many times, the Reds don't have a lot of superstars other than Elly De La Cruz, and Matt McLain, he's certainly trending at least to a star range for sure. But the thing you were going to put your hat on was that this lineup 1 through 9 and 1 through 8, when you have Trevino instead of Stevenson, right, would provide some depth. And that was what was going to sustain you. Well, there's no depth whatsoever. I mean, you get past CES and there's nothing. I mean, Steer, Fraley, and Trevino, and shout out to Fraley for getting a hit before he got picked off. I mean, it's just an absolute abysmal bottom of the lineup, and it's going to be hard to have any sort of consistency whatsoever when you have those guys. The only way you're going to score is if you have Matt McLain and Elly De La Cruz go off, and then Friedel and Lux and Candelario and CES can provide a little bit of complement to that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would certainly be up for a change. If we're going to cut Stuart Fairchild for swinging at a 3-0 pitch in spring training, I would like to see a change before the Reds go to Milwaukee.
Has to be a change. I mean, I don't know how there wouldn't be one. I mean, there's 2 things involved here, as you mentioned. The thing that stinks the most is that we're going to get frustrated at Spencer Steer when I'm not totally sure that it's his fault. I mean, the guy got how many at-bats? He got like 8 at-bats in spring training, and then all of a sudden he magically gets put in the lineup for the Dayton game, quite literally the day before the eve of opening day, and then all of a sudden he's supposed to be your DH. I mean, that's honestly, that's just malpractice. Like, our designated hitter had what? I mean, Nick, you can probably pull this up. Like, how many at-bats did the guy get in spring training? He was planned on being on the IL. That was the plan all along. Then all of a sudden, Hayes gets a calf situation that pops up, and they just scramble around. And it seems like this is the problem I have with this front office, I guess, if anything. It seems as if plan A doesn't go perfectly according to plan, they don't do a very good job of finding unique ways to fix problems internally and or going and getting something to help fix the problem. They just ride it out. They just let it go. And I guess you could sit here and say that you don't want to give up prospects, and I'm on board with that to a certain extent. But you can't just assume that everything's going to go perfectly every single offseason and say, wow, look at our lineup when everybody's healthy. It's never going to happen. We all know that that's not going to exist. And if it does exist, it's probably not going to be for very long. So the depth of this organization in the outfield we already knew was terrible. And I guess my last point that I'm going to make here is, like, if we already know that it's bad, then nobody should be getting any kind of, even, I wouldn't even call it a long leash. I would call it a short leash. They shouldn't even get a short leash. Like, if you're Jake Fraley and you've struggled last season, you struggled in spring training, and then you barely edged somebody out, if that guy goes to AAA and does well, a la Will Benson, and you struggle for a week, we can flop them like hot potatoes. I could care less. You got options. Who cares? You know how I feel about sending guys down. It's not a death sentence. You can go down there. Maybe you play well for a month. You can come back. It's not a big deal. So I get that the traditional sense in Major League Baseball traditionally is, Nick, hey, let guys get settled into the season. Don't freak out. You know, if somebody starts and, you know, they're hitting, call it 100 3 weeks in, you don't need to try to worry about them. They'll bounce back. We don't have that. And the real reason we don't have that is because we don't have legitimate major leaguers. I mean, I'm not trying to get too deep here, but that's part of the problem. You said Gavin Lux. The reason you like to give him some time is you can kind of point back to his major league experience and say, well, you know, look at last year. He got off to a slow start, had a relatively bad first half, but then he got red hot in the second half, and he obviously went on with the Dodgers, and they won a World Series. No offense to Jake Fraley, no offense to Will Benson, no offense to Rhys Hines, no offense to Blake Dunn, no offense to Hurtubise, and I would even say TJ Friedl to a certain extent is kind of like that, but I'll give him a pass. All of those guys, none of them have that.
Friedl and Lux's at-bats have looked significantly different than the other guys, too, if you're just watching them. They've been way more competitive. So they're in just a totally different category, in my opinion, than the back half. It feels like the Reds were willing to throw an audible when things got tough at the end of spring on, all right, we'll reverse course on Spencer Steer. But it felt like, well, we already said we're sending Benson down to AAA. We already said we're sending Hines down to AAA. There's also Tyler Callahan, who had his second home run of the year. A guy I really liked. He's not off to a great start in spring training, but he has 2 home runs in 5 games. One of those guys, can you give them a shot? At least see if you can get lightning in a bottle here when you have 2 other guys that just are completely lost right now.
Can I offer?
I don't understand why we sticking to our guns on Steer and not sticking to the plan with him, but we're dead set on sticking to the plan with the other guys.
I would even go so far to say that it's okay if Hurtubise gets a starter too. Like if he's actually looked somewhat competitive in his 2 at-bats. And I know that again, it's hard. It's 6 games, you know. I don't want to act as if Tito Francona is a major problem or anything like that. But there clearly needs to be some semblance of accountability that everybody keeps joking about when it comes to this team. The accountability thing obviously was overstated when it comes to the offseason. But I do think if there is one person that I hope will fix this issue, it's Tito Francona when it comes to, hey, like Jake Fraley, it stinks. That's the thing I hate most about this show. If we're being completely honest, there's one thing I hate about this show. It's that I do genuinely think all these guys are probably good people. I do genuinely think that they're doing their best. They're trying their best. The issue is our job is not to try to, you know, for the most part, give guys a pass just because they're good people. Jake Fraley is a great person. Jake Fraley went through a lot of stuff last season. I commend him for everything that he's done. It's just that when you play a professional sport and you get paid this amount of money, there needs to be some semblance of accountability. And I'm not trying to do this as a joke. He has to go down to AAA, in my opinion. Like, you can't play this poorly and then make a bonehead mistake and it just ho-hum. We move on to the next day. And I get Tito Francona says, hey, these guys are human. You can't just kill them every single time they make a mistake. That's fine. But I got news for Tito. I know while he was vacationing last year and enjoying his fun in the sun out there in Arizona, this is the same stuff we watched all last season. The same stuff. It's like deja vu. So if Tito probably experienced all year last year, he'd probably have a little bit of a different mindset when it comes to some of this stuff, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, look, if you're going to preach accountability, you got to show some accountability here, in my opinion.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But it's a tough show. Listen, folks, doing this show on a night-in, night-out basis, there's times where, you can have reasonable conversation. You can get into the nuts and bolts of the game itself and kind of what you would have done here, what you wouldn't have done there. When you lose 1-0, there's really not a whole lot to talk about when it comes to the game. You got to find ways to get on base, and you got to find ways to create scoring opportunities, and the Reds have not done that 2 nights in a row, and there's really nothing to say about it. Outside the fact that, Hunter Green, we'll jump to him here for a moment. I will say it's a privilege to watch him pitch. It really is. He's legitimately that good. I would be hard-pressed to find 5 to 6 arms in the game right now that I would take over Hunter Green, especially when you add in his age. I am very thankful that he's on our team. And I'm not trying to turn this into something that's not Hunter, but there are times when I watch Hunter Green and I watch Elly, and I think to myself, if this team and this organization can't figure something out between now and then, when you have a guy like that and Hunter Green as the head of the rotation, and you have a guy like that who plays shortstop for us, who made an unbelievable play down left field line, and Elly, when are we going to figure it out? And I'm not trying to turn this into a deep, dark show, but Hunter Green was amazing. I don't know how much you can add more than that, but see if you can, Nick.
22 swing and misses. I mean, hit 101.5 with his fastball. Hit over 101 3 times. So that's up a little bit from what we had, saw in spring training and then on opening day. I mean, he's absolutely incredible. This entire starting pitching staff is incredible. I mean, Carson Spires is probably the 6th or 7th best option, and I think he's a really good pitcher. So, I mean, that's what gives me hope. I know no one wants to hear about it on a day like today, and I'm almost with you. I'm kind of sick of hearing myself talk about this. But starting pitching that's this good can win a lot of games. It can be ugly. You hope it's the Brewers formula. You hope that the Reds can play good defense. Shout out to Elly De La Cruz, who made an unbelievable catch. Also, I tweeted this out, but is playing left field and third base, the 2 easiest positions on any team in baseball than for the Cincinnati Reds with Elly De La Cruz's range.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to kill Candy over and over again, but the ball, Candy looked like a giraffe trying to run after that ball that Elly went and snagged. I mean, it's baby giraffe, to be clear. I just, you bring up the Brewers, it's like I was thinking to myself in this game, like, okay, the Brewers probably make that play at third base today to get the out that, and it stays 0-0 and they find a way to win 1-0 late. And it's like, if we're going to play this way, then as I've said before, I'm all in on it, Nick. Like, go find me a guy that's going to play great corner outfield spots that hits 220. And I know this is a little bit of a joke. I don't care anymore. Let's just play the best defense and pitch the best. And then let's just live with the fact that we're going to have to rely on 2 or 3 guys in the lineup to get us over the hump. And that's it. And I know Austin Hayes is coming back, hopefully. Candelario playing third base anymore is crazy talk to me when he's doesn't provide a whole lot at the plate. I mean, you talk about bad at bats. I immediately start thinking of Candelario at times. He just, and he's gotten off to a better start than he did last year, but I don't know. It's just days like today. I'll tell you what, I promised myself that I wasn't going to go off the rails in regards to trying to say ridiculous stuff on on spur of the moment things when you get a microphone and a camera in front of your face after you just witnessed 2 horrific baseball games, and it's really hard. So I'm going to try not to do that. But bullpen too. I mean, I don't know how Hunter Green was great. Bullpen did their job. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's hard.
I have the bullpen on the back half, so
let's do that then. We'll save the bullpen. Yeah, I don't know. The back half on a day like today, the back half is tough. Go ahead.
I think though the next thing on the rundown is probably the most important thing on a day like today after the last 2 days.
Well, the most important thing is on days like today, you got to remember that 988 exists. You can text and or call anytime. There's probably times where if you just decide not to watch the Reds, it's the best thing for you. But if you continue to have to go to that well, which is watch the Reds, 988 is a hotline that you can use anonymously at any time, any given day. And it is a great resource to use if you're ever in need. So shout out to 988 and mantherapy.org. The bullpen. You had that on the back end, but you wanted to talk about Lux versus left-handed pitching. You think that's the most important thing on the rundown here. Do you agree with what I said in my opening ridiculous rant?
No. I mean, I kind of agree with you that I don't love counting on those guys, but I think Santiago Espinal was also still on the bench.
He was, yes.
And has a pretty good track record against left-handed pitching.
You agree, though. So you said you didn't agree, but you do agree, though, that like in that spot, you felt like you needed to go to somebody else in a spot like that.
Yes, you do need to go to someone else in a spot like that. Sorry, I might have. I'm trying to remember.
It's fine.
But I just don't understand. And Tito almost got bailed out if Elly would have got on base, then Lux would have came back up again in the 9th, and then you would have kind of been vindicated for going there. But you had a left-handed pitcher on the mound. You had the tying run on second base. Why not give Santiago Espinal a chance? I mean, Santiago Espinal against a left-handed pitcher gives you a pretty good chance of getting a base hit. So I did not understand that move at all. Gavin Lux, I think I'm higher on Lux than probably most people in the Reds fan base, but Gavin Lux is not a good hitter against left-handed pitching. He's brought in to only hit right-handed pitching, and when you have that spot, you have to pinch it for him. The Reds front office did not set this roster for Gavin Lux to hit in that spot. They set this roster to go to either Santiago Espinal, to either go to Blake Dunn, or hell, even Jacob Hurtubise is a better hitter left on left than Gavin Lux in that spot, especially when you only need a base hit to tie the game.
Yeah, it wasn't like you were asking for someone to come off the bench and hit a 3-run home run. A bloop would have worked. It's the state of the union. We knew what the union what the state of the union was before we started the season. I mean, we had a general idea of it, and it's reared its ugly head 2 days in a row, and hopefully this team can bounce back and find a way to win a series, because that's what it's going to take. I taken 3 of 4 in a 4-game series is not easy. I get it, but you have an opportunity to do so. If you want to sit here and say that this team, Nick, has faced a bunch of good starting pitching, I can get behind that a little bit. I can get behind that a little bit, but that's not going to be the case this weekend. So, it's put up or shut up time for this offense. They're going to have to find a way to score some runs, and if they can't, then there's going to have to be some alternative that's going to come down from the front office if they want to try to salvage a season that I think is almost salvageable, because I do believe in the starting pitching, and I do think that can get you through most games, but you're going to have some semblance of a lineup that looks like a big league lineup, and right now we don't have that. So, Espinal deserves more opportunities. I think he, as I've said before, I'll say it again. If it was up to me, he'd be my starting third baseman, and I'd leave him out there. Now, there's some spots where, I'd probably give him a break depending on pitching matchups, et cetera, et cetera. But the truth of the matter is, what he brings defensively far outweighs everybody else, and his offense really isn't all that far behind what I feel like we're losing anyways. So, I guess I'm just saying he's a better player than maybe we want to give him credit for. All right, bullpen. Not much to say outside the fact that they continue to get the job done. I get a little mop-up roll the other night with Suter. He gave up a few runs and then obviously Jabot. Outside of that, they've been quite literally perfect. They've been unbelievably good, and this was the concern heading into the season. If it wasn't the number one concern, it was certainly the second concern, and we'll ultimately see if they can hold suit to being. They're not going to be this good all year, but they've gotten off to a good start.
Yeah, I mean, Tony Santillan and Emilio Pagan both look just outstanding. And those are two big innings in the 8th and 9th inning because you had zero margin for error, and they kept this team in the game, gave them two chances to tie the game in the 8th and the 9th, and just, obviously they weren't able to do it. But, the bullpen has been much better than I thought outside of one inning. That just kind of haunts us right now. That one inning would be the difference of being 3-3 or 2-4 right now. But the bullpen overall has done their job, and I'm very impressed with Tony Santillan. He's just continuing to get better and better. And Emilio Pagan, I'm starting to believe that some of what we saw last year was probably more injury related, and he kind of is that guy that the Reds kind of expected when they signed him last year.
Chat wants us to know that we got the score wrong. It's wrong. But at the end of the day, it's tough sledding, Tough sled. It's all right. I'm sure Nick will fix it. There you go. All right, Nick. I hate to be this way, but I don't have much left, man. I really don't. No. I'm not sure where to go on a day like today outside. We'll do Reds MILB. We'll do a little who, what, when, where, and why. We'll send everybody along their way. Stay safe. There's some storms coming. Knock it out, Nick. Reds MILB.
Yeah, Louisville currently playing right now. They're losing 11-6 to Omaha. Tough debut to the season for Chase Petty. 3 1/3, 6 hits, 6 runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. Lyon Richardson also got rocked, who looked really good this spring. Kind of were hoping he could, be a relief pitching option for the Reds. Inning and a third, 5 runs, 2 walks. Richardson's command was all over the place. As mentioned, though, Tyler Callahan's having a great day. 2 for 5 with a double and a homer. That's the second home run for him. He got off to a slow start for Louisville, but he's one of the guys that I think is maybe one of the, if we're talking sneaky dark horse players that could have a pretty decent impact on the Reds in 2025. I think Tyler Callahan would be up at the top of my list, so good to see for him. Duelve Marte on base 2 more times, hitting .421, OPS over 1,000. So good to see from him. Benson is 0 for 3 today. Hines has walked 3 times in the game. Rest of Reds minor league affiliates, they start on Friday. If you didn't get a chance, I kind of broke through on the podcast version this morning, kind of my thoughts on where everyone's at, and kind of gave an update on what players to watch. I'll try to post that maybe on Friday morning onto our socials, just the clip of the podcast, kind of running through that if you're interested in that.
All right, a couple things that I got. One, John from DSC shot me a text and said maybe the deep drive of the day was a little too aggressive. Maybe it's best suit if you go look. Maybe it's best suit if you go look for a bagel sponsor.
Maybe the highest pitch velocity of the day on a day like today. We could have said Hunter Green threw a pitch 101.5 miles per hour.
Yeah, who knows, man. All right, Super Chats. Listen, you guys support this show unbelievably, even after times like today, and I just want to say thank you. Day games are not easy. Kind of a unique time in the day to jump into a Red show. But Ned Flanders says, does Candelario have options with a question mark? Possibly, would be nice, but no, we've signed him for a good amount of money. Daniel Myers, I know you know that, Ned. Daniel Myers says, Fraley and Steer automatic outs. No competitive team has them in their roster. Yes, Daniel. That's kind of what I was yelling about the entire time in the beginning of the show.
The current state of those two players.
Correct. And I think it's that's what's so frustrating with Steer is I just think it's unfair. I think it's unfair. You're asking a guy to go out there and do something when you're putting him in a tough spot. And you know what it's like? Spencer Steer is too strong-willed of a person to say, like, this is a bad idea, I'm not going to play. If Spencer Steer is capable of playing, he's going to say, I'm going to play. You got to protect your players sometimes. You got to be like, this is stupid.
Well, that's what's so ironic about, I agree with what you just said, but the quotes from Francona on Steer was they wanted to give him a chance to make the opening day roster because they wanted to be fair to him, which I don't agree with. I agree with you. I don't think they're being fair to him. I mean, maybe they're being fair to his feelings, I guess, but they're not being fair to the back of his baseball card. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well. 32 said, the good news is we scored 14 runs this series. That's true. I thought about that when I was getting ready to get on the show because it's like, that's just the game of, what is it, the game of large numbers? Like essentially at some point it all kind of evens out, but that's kind of that's the unfortunate part of all this.
14-5?
The run differential's fantastic. I mean, if you think about it. So
14-5. I mean, just
Disgusting.
a beat down from the Reds.
Yeah, exactly.
Last 3 days.
So disgusting. I just want to Singus, I don't know how to say the name, but he 20 bomb. Very much thank you. Said, love the show. Keep it up. Thank you. We'll do our best. I days like today, I could have come on here and just been thrown a little pity party in regards to just saying I don't really want to talk about much, but I tried to display my emotions the best I can. I'm sure I'll get hate mail for it. That's fine. Tim Barnes says, we need an outfield. We need an outfielder the past several seasons. The Reds have ignored this issue again. When will Nick be gone? They have sucked for years. I mean, I don't
kick
know.
me off the show or talk about Crawl?
I think he's talking about Crawl, yeah.
Which,
I
Trace,
don't know, man.
Which outfield would you prefer? Would you prefer the Louisville Bats outfield today of
That's
left
fair.
fielder Tyler
I like
Callahan, center fielder Reese Hines, right fielder Will Benson, or what did the Reds run out today?
Basically,
TJ
Lux.
Friedel in center, Gavin Lux, and it ended up being
Fraley.
Jacob Hurtubise. Fraley, yeah.
That's a good debate, and that's the sad thing is we have a good debate right now on who has the better outfield, the AAA team or the actual big league team. Who knows? I don't know. Pre-game shows. Nick, I kind of want to share the fact that we're doing a pre-game show every weekday, but you have that graphic. You want to run through the promo?
Yeah, that'll be back in action tomorrow night. Tomorrow is a 7:40 start time, so the fellas will be live at 6:30. They'll be pretty much a half hour before Reds live starts. That way, they got to have a full half hour, chat about the game, give you their thoughts, and then you can turn that off and go watch Reds live, and you have a full night of content. Shout out to those guys. They are working incredible hard. Excited for tomorrow will be the debut of Hunter Hurst and Max Alonso. So be sure to check them out and support them. And you guys have been great. I just am blown away. There was like 130 people watching that pregame show. That made me incredibly happy. So really thank you to you guys. And that's all shout out to you.
All right, folks. Go out, enjoy the rest of your day, do the best you can. But we do have more baseball on the way. Nick, who, what, when, where, and why?
Yeah, I'll keep this brief. I'll save more for the podcast. I'll do a little more digging if you want a full scouting report on Nestor Cortez, not Nestor Laurent, Nestor Cortez, who got rocked in his first start against the Yankees. But the Yankees probably knew a few things about Mr. Cortez, so I'm certainly not counting my chickens there. The thing that we don't love to see going into the Brewers, the Reds have lost 9 consecutive series. No, I'm sorry. I shortchanged them. The Reds have lost 10 consecutive series to the Brewers. The Reds' last series win against the Brewers was in August of 2022. Reds 50-81 against the Brewers since 2017. By far the worst of any NL Central team. So a 4-game series. I mean, I'll just take a split, but man, at some point, please win a series against Milwaukee. Also,
I'm going to defend Nick. Sometimes you got to defend the other person when you do shows sometimes because you realize what's going on behind the scenes. Nick has kids, and it's 3:32, and there's things that go on during the day that require a lot of work. The graphic did say Friday. It's obviously Thursday. We can all collectively understand that that's not a big deal, but there you go. Look at that. He fixes it fast. You got to say he fixes it fast. So, yeah, the Texas Rangers, they did win 1-0 if you tuned in the show, and the Reds do play tomorrow, Thursday. And you know what? We'll be back better than ever then. I don't know if the Reds will be back, but I can tell you this. we'll be back. And at some point, hopefully, I can remember to hit the audio on the outro before I actually play it. All right, folks. Love you. See you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day.